Welcome to the BeFit Blueprint Podcast. We're your hosts, Cody Israel and Brad Durham. For all you BeFit members and beyond, this is where we break down the blueprint of building a healthier, stronger you. In every episode, we share actionable tips, expert advice, and real stories to inspire you to level up your mind, body, and lifestyle. Whether you're just taking your first step or pushing for the next breakthrough, we've got the tools to get you there.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to episode 3 of the BeFit Blueprint. Back again. I'm Cody Israel, and our nutrition coach, Kaylee Stewart, is back. First thing, we do want to apologize on the last episode for the sound quality. Everything sounded good on our end when we were recording it, but when it came through and we were all done, it was a little fuzzy, a little blurry, so we do apologize for that. Hopefully this one sounds good when you're listening to it right now. But kicking off episode 3, this is going to be the start of a little series podcast that we're going to be doing. So this first one is going to be kind of a brief overview of the following 3 podcast episodes on what we're going to be talking about. So the main topics today is the 5 things you need to be doing every day. Okay, we think these 5 things will make a bigger impact, especially since we're in the gym setting. These things will make a bigger impact for your gains and your results in the gym than most likely the result or the effort you're putting into the gym. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and I just want to also give a shout out to our head coach, Cody, here. I know I can hear and see all of BeFit agreeing with me when I talk about how important Cody is to the gym. So Cody, thank you so much for all you do. Cody knows everyone's strengths, their weaknesses. He spends a lot of time with his programming, and he is a wealth of knowledge in all things health, fitness, and nutrition. So, Cody, thank you, and thank you for having me. And yes, today I think we should major in the majors. So when we're talking about health and all the things that kind of go along into just total health, we at the gym have been discussing ways that we can help educate our community to be healthier. And I think we were kind of missing some of the big picture. So today, Cody and I are going to dive a little bit deeper into those things that can really make a big difference and have a huge impact on your health, even though they seem so small.
Yep, and kind of what sparked this, just to give some background information, the staff, the creative team, we kind of been talking about the direction we want to go with our new kind of results-based stuff and how to get people like results. And, we were kind of missing the forest for the trees there. And so, yes, we are a gym. Yes, our strength is in our programming and the exercise that we do. But if these other things aren't in line outside the gym, you're not going to reach your fullest potential in the gym. So we think these 5 things are super important in order for you to achieve the results that you want to achieve. So kicking it off, I would argue that the most important thing is sleep.
Definitely. There's this saying that says sometimes you have to get healthy to lose weight. And I think sleep falls into that umbrella because if you're missing sleep and stress management, it has a huge impact on your total and overall health.
Yeah, and sleep, we're looking to get 7 to 9, and I know it's not 9 sounds like a lot, but it really makes a huge difference. 7 to 9 quality hours of sleep, per night. And by quality hours, I mean not just getting in bed at 11 and getting out of bed at 6, because you're not going to fall asleep as soon as you roll into bed, and you're not going to most likely stay asleep the entire night with good quality sleep.
I like to think, Cody, of at least giving yourself good sleep opportunity. So at least thinking about, hey, if I get in bed now and fall asleep within a reasonable amount of time, I can get 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
So think about sleep opportunity. Am I getting to bed? Am I getting into bed with enough time for a window of a good amount of sleep?
Yep, that's exactly how I game it, especially on the mornings that I do have to get up at 4:20 and be here in the morning. I'm like, okay, if I am in bed, by 8 o'clock, 8:20, then I'm at least going to be in bed for 8 hours. And ideally, if I've done everything right leading up to that point, I'll fall asleep relatively quickly, maybe wake up once a night to go to the bathroom, because that's just what happens when you get older. And then, fall back asleep, and my alarm goes off at 4:20, and ideally I hit some good quality sleep there. So just, I guess, prepare, it goes back to that John Wooden saying, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So preparing yourself for sleep, if we do that in the regular life throughout day-to-day stuff, why would we not do that when we're getting ready to go to sleep?
Yes. Unfortunately, I think one of the biggest things that impacts our sleep is stress. So any way that you can kind of mitigate your stress as you're heading into your bedtime routine, whether it be having a really busy day tomorrow and everything running through your mind that you have to do. Sometimes I actually make a list before I go to bed. I keep a list by my bed so that if I think of it right as I'm going to bed, I write it down so I won't think, wow, I'm going to forget that. I know I'm going to forget that. So mitigating the stress can really help you sleep better. And sometimes even things like deep breathing while you're in bed, while you're settling in, and all those kind of things. Even thinking about gratitude as you're falling asleep. That can really help mitigate the stress of just focusing on your busy day or everything that you have going on in your life.
Yeah. I mean, greater sleep quality is associated with better recovery in the gym, which essentially that's why we're all listening to this podcast and putting on this podcast, because we want to be better in the gym, but also to be better in the gym, sometimes we got to be better outside of the gym. So getting better recovery, sleeping more is going to lead to greater gains in the gym.
And also, it really can increase your immunity. So, I mean, I don't know how many times this has happened to me personally. If you have a little bit of a sore throat, but man, you had a really good night of sleep, you wake up in the morning, that sore throat's gone. So just thinking about focusing on your immune system, how your immune system needs that sleep as well.
Yeah, and for sure. And then like along the nutrition side of things, like there's research saying the more you sleep, the easier it is to lose weight, the easier it is to keep off weight, the easier it is to build muscle mass. And all of those go hand in hand. The more we've talked about before, the more muscle mass you have, the easier it is to lose weight, the easier it is to keep weight off. So being able to sleep and gain muscle mass, maintain muscle mass is just going to help you, whether it be your weight loss efforts or your weight maintaining efforts. Sleeping more is going to help you reach that goal.
I mean, it helps you to control your appetite, like we talked about before, right? Your leptin and ghrelin, it controls your hormones. If you've ever had a bad night of sleep and woke up just craving junk, it's because your body is searching for energy.
Sure.
So it's missing that energy from a good night's sleep, so it will find it somewhere. Like we've talked about before, the body is really, really smart. So it'll search for that energy somewhere. So it can really cause you to overeat, thus impacting your weight loss goals and affecting muscle growth as well.
Yeah, and you're just awake more in general. If you're only sleeping, 5-6 hours a night, you're awake for, was that 19, 18 hours? So you're just awake more. Your body's, along with your hormones being all jacked with, you're just going to be hungry more because you're going to be awake and alive more, not laying in bed. Versus if you can sleep 8 to 9 hours, then you're going to be only out of bed for, 16, 15 hours. So there's just less time up and at it, focusing on the food aspect of things.
Yeah, and as far as just, there's so many things, and we'll dive into this a little deeper about just kind of establishing a really good bedtime routine, but also avoiding heavy meals right before you go to bed can really help with your sleep quality. You don't want to be so hungry that you can't sleep, but you really want to have most of your food digested before you try to settle down to sleep. Otherwise, you will be digesting and not resting.
Yeah, and I guess that'll be where we leave off with the sleep one, with a little nugget of potentially how to help with sleep. And it goes by like the 3-2-1 rule. So 3 hours before bed, you want to stop eating essentially 3 hours before bed. So you have your big dinner meal, say at 6 p.m. Okay, and then 2 hours before bed, you don't drink anything. You don't drink much more other than that. Say if you got to take your nighttime pills or whatever, sure, you can have a sip of water here and there. But 2 hours before bed, we want to kind of cut off all of our liquids, just so we're not up multiple times throughout the night trying to go to the bathroom. And then 1 hour before bed, try to shut off or mitigate the electronic use you have.
Yeah.
You're not that way. I would assume, I don't know, that most of us tend to, before bed, lay in bed, looking at our phones, scrolling through, catching up on the news for the day. And that definitely does impact our sleep, because the blue light emitted from our phones send a signal to our body to not release melatonin. Melatonin
Correct.
is the hormone that helps us fall asleep faster, and that's why a lot of people supplement with melatonin.
Yeah, and so another good idea really is to kind of dim your lights, to just kind of simulate the darkness outside
Yeah.
as the sun's going down.
Yeah, and you
low
can
lighting and things like that.
Yeah, and you can, and this is just if you're going to be on your phone, I would at least invest in some blue light blocking glasses. I have those, and there's a setting on your phone also that you can turn off the blue light after a certain amount of time. So mine always shuts off at 5 a.m. It turns into almost like a orangish dim
An
on my
amber
phone.
color?
Yeah, an
Yeah, I
amber
have that
color.
on mine as well.
So
Yeah.
that's just a way to help lead your body and get prepared going into sleep.
Yep, sounds good.
Yep. So, like I said, there's going to be a whole podcast. The next podcast we film is going to be on sleep to kind of go more in depth on some of the research and what it says. But for now, we're going to touch on that as the number one thing that you should focus on doing more of every day.
Sleep and stress management,
Yep.
yes.
The BeFit Blueprint is sponsored by Precision Metalworks. Attention, makers, creators, and doers. When precision is key, you need a partner you can trust. That's where Precision Metalworks comes in. With decades of experience crafting high-quality custom metal components, they bring your vision to life with precision engineering, unbeatable craftsmanship, and a commitment to excellence. Whether you're in aerospace, automotive, or looking for that one-of-a-kind custom project, they've got the tools and experience to get it done the right way the first time. Don't settle for less. Choose Precision Metalworks, where innovation meets precision. Visit precision-metal-works.com today, and let's build something amazing together.
Number 2, we're going to talk about getting in more steps throughout the day, just general activity, just moving a little bit more throughout the day.
I've heard a statistic not long ago that said the average American gets only 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day. And I found that very hard to believe. But as I'm working with clients, we discuss this a lot in our sessions, and it's true.
Oh, yeah.
Some that I've seen only 2,000 to 3,000 steps some days. So if you're trying to lose weight, this is really sabotaging your weight loss goals.
Yeah, and we are going to kind of advocate for somewhere in that 7,000 to 10,000 step range. And you hear that 10K step number a lot. But again, this is kind of like the last podcast when we talked about stepping up our protein. You can kind of step your way up in steps. So say you're someone that gets 3,000 steps a day. Maybe you're like, okay, my goal is to get 5,000 steps a day for the next couple weeks. And then you can slowly increase that up by 1,000, 2,000 a week or 2 weeks to slowly work your way up to moving more throughout the day.
Yeah, more steps is associated with lower all-cause mortality. I think I've heard that step intensity doesn't matter as much. I mean, clearly, cardiovascular health is really important, but I think just in general, overall movement can really help with things like blood sugar balance, cognitive function, just all those things, just your joints and.
Yeah. And the one thing I would recommend doing if you're able to, especially after meals, being able to go out on I'd even say 5 minute, but if you can get a 10-minute walk after each big meal you eat, it is going to do so much good for your blood sugar. You get those crashes after you eat a big meal, especially like a carbohydrate meal. And then you're like, if you stay sitting down, it just feels like there's a brick in your stomach. Getting up and moving and taking, 5 to 10 minutes of movement is going to help that digestive process and speed up that process, get things moving throughout the body. So it's not just sitting there in your stomach.
And when you focus on just in general managing your blood sugar, you are always more metabolically healthy.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're really focusing on movement after a heavy meal, every meal, it can really help your overall blood glucose numbers, A1C, even things like visceral fat, like we talked about last time.
Yeah.
It's just a simple little cheat code for just improving your metabolic health is just moving in general.
Yeah.
Particularly after a heavy meal.
Yeah, and then, we always get that sluggish feeling after that meal, like getting up and moving is going to boost your energy. It's going to boost your mental state because that's why people get that 2 p.m. lull in the afternoon after lunch. If they're an office worker or whatever, they just get that lull in the evening or in the afternoon time, and then they most of the time opt for a caffeinated drink where, you get that caffeine late in the afternoon, leads into the evening time, messes with your sleep. That goes back to point number 1.
Yeah, and so just talking about getting steps in and what this kind of looks like. I mean, I love the phrase exercise snacks, which is just basically like any little chance you can to move around can be really, really helpful. Even things like, if you work a desk job, maybe every 55 minutes for 5 minutes, get up, go to the restroom, offer to run an errand for a coworker. Anything like that can get you moving. I've seen like standing desks and things like that can be really helpful too. We are, Cody, you and I are very lucky because we work in a gym, so we get to move a lot.
Yeah, and that's the thing I notice sometimes. Like if I'll coach 3 or 4 hours in a row, and I'll get somewhere in the 5,000 step range, and I'm like, okay, well, I was just up on my feet for 4 hours straight, and still got only 5,000 steps. Like I can't imagine sitting in an office for hours on end. Like
tough.
they're hundreds of steps, or maybe not even eclipsing a thousand steps. So, getting up, making it a priority throughout the day, just little bits, like you said, little snacks of walking throughout the day can have a huge impact on just your daily caloric burn and just your blood sugar and how you feel throughout the day.
Yeah, and another little cheat code, Cody, I don't know, you may have seen me do it this morning. So if you're doing a workout here at CrossFit or at BFit, a CrossFit workout, maybe you're doing a heavy day where you have 4 or 5 minutes of rest in between your sets. Pace around the gym, walk around, walk up and down your box, encourage people, just little things like that. Park far away if you're going to the grocery store. Now in Northwest Missouri right now, it's 0 degrees. So.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes those frigid temperatures, that'll speed up your metabolism, but your body's trying to warm you up.
But just look for chances, look for opportunities, offer to walk something take something to a neighbor, or park far away, or, any little chance you have to move, run that, if you have a load of laundry, run it upstairs, make it in 2 trips, whatever you can. Those are the things that I do to add steps to my day.
Yeah. So I think that kind of covers kind of where we're at on the steps, and we can come, and again, like I said, we'll talk about this later in a later podcast.
The BFit Blueprint is brought to you by the Colony House, where furniture shopping is as comfortable as the pieces you'll find there. With the best selection of furniture and mattresses, they make it easy to love coming home after a long day of crushing your goals. Want to elevate your living space as much as your fitness goals? Head to Riverside and Frederick for a personalized shopping experience you'll actually enjoy at the Colony House in St. Joseph.
All right, now moving on to point number 3. It's kind of similar, kind of something we talked about on our last podcast, but this just, we want to emphasize the importance of hitting your body weight in grams of protein, or your ideal body weight in grams of protein.
Yeah, so this might look like trying to shoot for 30 to 50 grams per meal if you eat 3 meals a day. And Cody, I'm just curious, what does this look like for you? Because I'm really curious as to what protein, how you balance out your protein and what that might look like for you.
So big thing is I try to get a nice bolus of protein in the morning. Like with breakfast, I would say I get anywhere from 40 to 50 grams for breakfast. And then lunch, I would say another 50 grams. And then dinner, they're all probably around 50 grams or so.
Yeah.
And then I'll have maybe a snack throughout the day, or a snack before bed that's got some protein. Like I'm probably not 1 gram per pound. I come up probably a little bit short. I'm probably closer to like 0.8, 0.75. So I could be better on that, but I think I'm close enough, and I eat enough other nutrients that I'm not in a calorie deficit or anything like that. So it's not as important for me to hit 1 gram, especially if I get into a scenario where because I've been dealing with that hip and back issue for a little while. When I get back into adding a little bit more volume into my training, that 175, 180 grams of protein will be plenty, because I'll be eating more nutrients and stuff to fill in the gaps. So.
Yeah, and I want to encourage you, if you can, everybody, this is another thing I see in practice a lot. A lot of clients are really trying to be very intentional with their protein intake, but in turn, they end up eating kind of a lot more processed protein than what would really like. And there's a time and a place for things like protein shakes, and I use them, protein bars, once again, I use them. But as a rule, I really think that your body would run a little bit smoother, and the protein would be way more bioavailable if you were able to get that from whole food sources.
Oh yeah, and also like we talked about last week, for someone who's trying to lose weight, I would push them super hard to get as much, if not all, of their protein through whole food sources, just because of the, again, thermic effect of food we talked about, but also the satiating effect. If you're filling your protein through protein shakes, you're not going to be nearly as full for as long as if you were to eat a, whether it be 5 or 6 eggs or a 6-8 ounce steak. Like, that's going to keep you so much more full for a longer period of time.
Yeah. So, listen, BeFit family, if you're hitting these 30 to 50 grams of protein per meal, you won't be hungry between meals.
Yeah.
So, for example, myself yesterday for breakfast, I had maybe 3 eggs with some vegetables and a cup of cottage cheese and a cup of fruit. I was not hungry until lunch.
Yeah.
And then same again, lunch, I had chicken and vegetables, was not hungry again until dinner. So if you're doing it right, you shouldn't need to snack.
Yeah.
And we're happy to help you with that always.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is like those whole foods you're just like there, versus if I was to replace that with like a Kodiak cake or a Premier Protein, like protein pancake or something like that. It's like, yeah, I'm getting protein. It's better than probably eating a regular pancake or waffle, but I'm still not going to be full for that long because it is a processed food that's engineered to taste good. It's engineered to make you want to eat more food.
And if you look at the ingredient list, you might just see things you can't pronounce. So
yeah,
we're always on the team of looking for the purest form of food most of the time, if possible.
Yeah, and now where I will say where I could see a protein shake, being beneficial, like obviously the convenience thing, but also for someone who is a bigger person that is trying to get in, say 200, 230, 40 grams of protein, and it is hard to eat that much protein. Adding in a shake at the end of the night, or starting off the morning with a 40 to 50 gram protein shake, like to get a jump start to make it easier for you to hit your protein targets, where you're already eating a ton of whole food proteins. Adding that in, I think, can be beneficial.
Yeah, and if you're not used to eating that much protein, it can be really hard to work up to that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've actually worked with, most of my clients have been women, but a lot of the women that I work with really have a hard time starting out getting this amount of protein. So we really like to focus on if you are going to use a protein shake, a really high quality one. And once again, I'm happy to help you with some of my favorite forms of those, but they can be used to fill in the gaps and help you stay satisfied. But really, there's nothing like the whole food. Your body's going to run just so much smoother with that.
Yep. And we'll kind of dive in a little bit of that. We dove into that on our last podcast. So if you need more or want more information on the benefits of protein, please go back and listen to episode 2. Keeping it with the nutrition side of things, jump into our 4th point. Consuming more water throughout your day, anywhere from a half gallon to a full gallon of water throughout your day.
Yeah, and really, I encourage you to front load your day with hydration.
Yes.
We wake up in a dehydrated state every morning, so maybe put your favorite water bottle in front of your coffee pot. Sometimes I do that just as a reminder to drink water before I do anything else. And like Cody talked about earlier, with a lot of water before you go to sleep can interfere with your sleep. So it can be really helpful to just start your day in a hydrated state.
Yeah, and then front loading your water, drinking a lot of water early on in the day, what that's going to make you do is go to the bathroom more throughout the day. You're going to get more steps in throughout the day. There's those little exercise snacks. It's just keeping the ball rolling. All right, one thing leads to another, and we're hitting 3 of these 5 things you should be doing every day all at once.
And brain fog, it can really help with brain fog. And I think about when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, we must have been so chronically dehydrated, because I love now how kids get to take all these water bottles and all this to school. We never had this.
Yeah, we never did either.
I remember coming in from hot recess and the teachers counting at the water fountain. You had like 4 seconds to get a drink, and it was the next person. And I remember thinking, man, I could just drink this water for an hour. So I think, wow, we were so chronically dehydrated. So it's really important. And if you have children, it's really important to make sure they're hydrated as well.
I do have trouble with that in the middle of the night. If I take a drink of water, sometimes it's like the best tasting water I've ever had in my life, and I chug it for like 10 seconds, and then I got to get up and go to the bathroom 2 hours later. But, that's why we front load in the morning.
Yeah.
But also benefits of, especially if you are someone who works out, like starting your day with a bunch of water, especially if you work out earlier in the day, that's going to get your muscles full of water, because that's where a lot of the water is stored in your body, in your muscles. And the more water, essentially, if your muscles are dehydrated, if you're dehydrated, your muscles aren't going to function how they're supposed to function. They're not going to fire as rapidly or as forcefully as they can as when they are like fully hydrated.
And it can also help with your metabolism.
Yeah.
And even I've even heard drinking cold water kind of like you talked about, shivering increases your metabolism.
Yeah.
That cold water can increase your metabolism as well.
Yeah, I just prefer you drink more water, but if you like cold water, it might even give you a little bit extra benefit.
I like cold water.
Yeah. This one stat I had, though, was even slight dehydration, and that's just 2% dehydration, lowers your cognitive performance. So if you're someone who needs to use your brain a lot, or are someone who, needs to like react quickly, like I'm thinking someone who is a police officer, firefighters, a doctor, something who uses their brain and needs it often and quickly, just that slight dehydration can cause a minimal or a little bit of a mental decline or delay in your thinking ability, and you never know when you're going to need that to need to be really sharp at a certain point in time. So
I saw a study that said the National Institute of Health did a study, and they said 75% of Americans are dehydrated, walking around in a state of dehydration. Yeah. So it's really, really important. And if it's something that you aren't currently focusing on, kind of like everything else, step it up. If you're only getting 30 or 40, and I've seen this, 30 or 40 ounces of water a day, just try to add a little bit more. I promise you, the more that you drink, the more your body will actually crave it. It really will. So if you're not someone that drinks water, or you don't think you like water, you can get there.
And I do have a question for you in regards to intake on liquids. Like, would you, as a dietitian, still count like a diet soda or like putting some Crystal Light or Mio in your water? Would you still count that as a fluid intake on the day?
Well, you're probably asking the wrong person, because I really don't like any artificial sweeteners at all.
Yeah.
I think there's a time and a place. If it's the right sweetener, and we can talk about that. If anyone has questions about this preferred artificial sweeteners, come see me. I think it's okay sometimes, but I think that really, once again, there's nothing wrong with water, But if it's somebody that really struggles to drink water and you really want to increase that fluid intake, I think so. I also think Diet Coke, I don't know, but like a Crystal Light or something like that, possibly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Caffeine is actually a diuretic, so it can deplete your water stores.
Yeah, well, yes, to an extent, but also I don't know if it's depleting. I don't think the research is to where it's depleting your stores more than what's coming in.
No, there you go.
So it's still a net positive in the hydration aspect, but yes. That's kind of what I was saying. So I was going to say, don't rely on that as your sole source, especially if it's like a carbonated, like a diet soda or something like that. But like if adding Crystal Light or Mio is one of the ways you're going to get more water in, I think it's a net positive. Drinking more water that way.
I think so too. And I would look, if you're not drinking much water at all, maybe alternate it with those things. So if you really, really like those things and they help you drink more water, say maybe for every, Mio or whatever you're going to drink a glass of water along
good.
with
I like
it,
that.
Just kind of to encourage that, because I think those things are okay, but if you're looking at overall additives and things like that, maybe not the best.
Yeah, because I had a discussion with a client, last week or so about like diet soda intake. I'm like, diet soda in itself is not bad, but if you're drinking copious amounts of it, like, half a gallon a day, especially if it's like you said, a Diet Coke or a Diet Mountain Dew that has 40 to 60 milligrams of caffeine in it per 8 or 12 ounces, that's going to add up. And then,
once again, you talk about sleep
again,
and
affecting your sleep
else.
and affecting
even your stress level. I mean, caffeine can definitely cause your stress level to go up.
Yep.
So I also like to consider things like tea, herbal tea, green tea, black tea. All those things can be good as well, especially this time of year, because if you're freezing cold and it's 0 degrees, maybe you don't want a glass of ice water, but a big mug of chamomile tea is.
I have some decaffeinated tea that I just use the instant tea, just warm up some hot water and throw it in there, and then if I like a little sweetener, I'll throw some honey in there or something. Especially it's good when you got like a sore throat or something here in this Midwestern weather.
Yes, it's cold, but that's a great way to just add some fluid. And the Crystal Light and things like that are okay, but I would look to kind of just add that in conjunction with just water.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
The BeFit Blueprint is brought to you by Bratton Dental Company, where your smile is our priority. At Bratton Dental, we combine state-of-the-art technology with personalized care to give you the confidence you deserve. From routine cleanings to advanced cosmetic and restorative treatments, Our expert team is here to help every step of the way. Ready to love your smile? Visit BrattonDentalCo.com today and schedule your appointment. Bratton Dental Company, bringing life to your smile.
So that was number 4, capping off the list of our 5 things you should do every day is a daily meditation and or prayer.
Yes, so focusing on gratitude can really change your whole outlook on life.
Yeah, being thankful and, making it a point to either write that down or say it out loud for the things you are grateful for in your life. Maybe you wake up and you write down one thing every day that you're grateful for, you're thankful for, and that's just starting your day off just with, like she said, with gratitude, with being thankful for the things that we have and we're blessed with every day.
It changes your mindset because if you're focusing on what you're positive or what you're grateful for, then you're automatically in a positive posture. You're not starting your day with, oh, ho-hum, this is what I have to do. You're starting it with just a posture of gratefulness for your family and your home and your job and even my clients, things like that. So,
and in the research, some research on like meditation and stuff, that it enhances your memory, it increases your attention span, it decreases your negative mood and lowers anxiety. Like all of those things, I think we take for granted how big of an impact they make in our day-to-day lives. Like if you can wake up being grateful and spin it in a positive light and just put yourself in a better mood, better outlook on the day, like your day's just going to be better.
Definitely.
Just doing that, like versus waking up. And I know we all have bad days, but waking up and just feeling like, man, I have to go do this. Oh, I have to go do this. Like, no, you get to go do this every day.
Absolutely.
You get to go to work. You get to do this, and just spinning it and finding the silver lining in everything that you do, I think just makes going through day in and day out, your job, your life, interactions with people, I think it makes it that much easier.
I think so too. I just finished this book called Brain Energy by Chris Palmer, and he talked about a study they did looking at adults with a high risk of depression and found that those who reported religion or spirituality to be highly important were 90% less likely to develop depression compared to those who reported those things of low importance. So that just gives you a little bit of an insight to how the power of just gratitude, and whether it's your relationship with Jesus or your family, just focusing on gratitude and how that can actually control your metabolic health and your stress levels.
Yeah, and I would say, and now obviously, like I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but like I think that would be because you're acknowledging all of the good in your life. You're like putting it out there like, okay, I acknowledge this is what's good in my life. This is what I'm thankful for, versus focusing on the things or fixating on the thing or the things in life that, maybe isn't going your way right now. You're trying to not, fixate on that and spinning it and finding positives in your life.
Definitely. Anytime you can have a positive mindset about whatever it is you're doing, it's going to make it better.
Yeah. So that is number 5 of the list. And like I said, we are going to go through these, probably the next 3 podcasts. We're going to dive into all 5 of these. Sleep is going to have its own thing because there's so much research on the benefits of sleep and how to get better sleep and what type of sleep we want to have. And then we're going to combine some of the other ones together in a 2-for-1 episode. But this will be the main content that we're going to be having over the next 3 podcasts. If there's any other content you guys would like us to cover, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram or comment on the YouTube video or anything like that. Or if you're from BeFit, give us a shout. One of our coaches, be like, hey, I think this would be a good topic for us people to cover. We always want to talk about the things that people want to hear about, but also talk about the things that we think people need to hear about. And that's kind of the reason why we brought this into the forefront on our podcast today and the weeks going forward.
Yeah, we love our BeFit family, and we want you all to feel better and to look better and to live up to your full health potential. We need to optimize your health. So we're here to help you do that, however that looks, and it might look a little bit different for everybody. So, but these are, like I said earlier, these are just majoring in the majors. These are things that you can look to gradually change to really make a big impact on your health.
Yep. So we'll be back in April with episode 4, talking about how to prioritize sleep, and we will catch you then. Oh, wait, no, that's not April. Yes, April.
It'll be warmer then.
Yeah, it'll be springtime by then. Thank you, guys.